Hey guys, this is Orsi and this is going to be just a quick, short, hopefully, reflection on my selection for winter, the decks I mean, because was very ambitious. If you look at my original video, I picked out quite a few of decks and I honestly thought that I would do more readings than I actually did. I set out when the dark season was coming to do a lot more introspective readings. I wanted to do, big emotional ones, dig into issues. But as it happens, there was just too much from life, from outside of things that I didn't really do as much as I wanted, but I guess I did enough. I did what I needed, and there's a difference, and it's very hard to see when you go into a season what will actually happen. So there are decks that I haven't even touched, which speaks, not volumes, but at least some pages about my relationship with those decks. Some I might have to face that I need to just put them away for a longer while and see if I will ever miss them, because decks like, and I'm gonna start showing you guys, decks like the White Newman, which I still absolutely adore the art style. I had never once even thought about reaching for it, which sucks, because I mean I wanted to. It's a beautiful deck, and I'm not ready to completely give up on the deck. Even though, you're just showing me the Ten of Swords. Then maybe I will. But not yet, so I'm not ready to completely abandon this deck. Oh, High Priestess. But, like I said, I didn't once felt the need to pull it out. So, I don't know yet what I'm gonna do with this deck. I might move it into the spring selection as well, because it kind of feels like a wintry, but it also at the same time a springy deck, which I cannot explain because those are two opposite energies in the deck. But I know that I adore the artwork. I know I'm frustrated by the lack of description in the guidebook, so it could be part of it. Another one was the Shadowscapes tarot. This is my trimmed Hungarian copy, so it doesn't really matter because, it's trimmed, it's edged. What bothers me is that I retitled the cards, and I don't like the way that blue looks on the cards, but I didn't had any other type of felt tip or marker that actually stuck to the cardstock. So I don't know, it's such a small thing, but maybe it's bothering me that it's not purple. But once again I did not a lot of readings, and this deck wasn't one that I felt like using. So I'm not ready, I'm not feeling like I need to get rid of, but again, it says something. Astrology, I didn't do any study on astrology. I didn't do pick a card readings, because when I do those, I usually use decks like this. I really want to learn more about astrology, at least the basics, like what does like houses mean, what does it mean when you don't have a freaking planet in a house, because most of the time it's like, oh, check what's planet is in your blah 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 house, and that's really important, and I'm like, I have nothing there, so thank you so much for saying what happens when there's nothing. But it's not astrologer's fault, I'm not saying that. It's just that I would like to have some basic knowledge that I can incorporate into my tarot readings, but that's the level that I'm actually aiming for. So maybe that's not something that you can actually do. Maybe you need to do more, or you don't do anything. I still haven't, decided what I think about it. Next deck, another one that I didn't really touch is the Magic of Oracle, Marvel Oracle. I used it for a week alongside with my monthly study, and the deck has good descriptions, and I like the art style, and obviously it's Marvel, but it's more of the comic book Marvel, I think, which, you know, you could be like, that's the basics, so why are you complaining? I'm not complaining. I'm just saying that I'm not familiar with the comic books. Those were not I don't think they were readily available until the recent years here. So, you know, I'm aware and more familiar with the cinematic universe, the MCU, and I was expecting that because, you know, this is an Inside Edition deck, so I was expecting something that ties into the movies more. So maybe that's why I'm not really drawn to using this deck. I haven't figured it out. I used it for a week alongside, like I said, with my study deck, but it was a good one, but I didn't really feel like it was a, you know, awesome deck or something like that. Nothing, you know, it's not the deck's fault, I'm just saying. Let's try to put things on one side. Another one that I didn't use only a few times is the Reclaim Oracle, and to be honest, I was very happy when I received this deck. It was a gift, and I was very, very happy to get it because I felt like this is going to be the deck that helps me deal with emotional issues, as in just, you know, identifying what's wrong and how to... Oh, it's kind of weird. What happened to the cards though? Feels like they are air bubbles. You know, like getting into the root of the problem and figure things out. But I try to use it in a very specific personal reading, and the card that I got didn't make sense, and I kind of feel like that it happened a few times with this deck already, that I got the card, I read the guidebook, I was thinking about the emotion that I was getting from the card, and it just didn't match the situation. Not in a, you know, not even in a, oh, I'm completely in denial about something and it's just too strong and I don't want to deal with it. It was just like I pulled something, there was a card, and no matter how I tried to make it make sense, it didn't make sense. So there might be a problem with me and this deck in a way that we don't connect. So I'm not sure about that deck. But it was a good thing that I had it out and pulled a few cards, because at least now I know that I have to pay more attention to that. One that I finally made a pouch for, even though it's a bit bigger than I should have made, is the Roi de Vivre. So I keep the, you know, guidebook with it. I wanted this to be my specifically Christmassy deck because of the art style, and I used it a few times, and it's a lovely reader, so at least I know that I actually really like this deck, you know. But I feel like it's more of a springy deck than a wintry, even though the art style would suggest, you know, children's book illustration, what I look for in a Christmassy deck. It felt more of the energy of spring, so I didn't really use it after a while. There I started feeling like that. So this is definitely moving on to the spring selection, even though I'm really trying to, you know, limit myself because I didn't really use a lot of decks. Another set of decks that I didn't use was the Steampunk Tarot. I don't think I pulled it out once. Every time I pull it out, I'm like, oh, but this is such a good looking deck. And then I put it back and I don't, and I don't pull it out and I don't use it. I don't want to get rid of decks because I never use them when I like the artwork, but at the same time, I would really like to have a collection that is, oh, High Priestess, I love you. I love this card. that is only, has only decks that are functional, because I don't want to be overwhelmed when I look at my decks to pick out one that I use in a reading. My fantasy tarot self definitely has a collection of just a few decks that she knows inside and out, and it's the best ever, and blah blah blah. So I'm aiming for that, but at the same time I really like decks, so I'm struggling. I only used a few times. It was a good deck, but I'm not in the mood, I guess, for something like this right now. It's the classical Rider-Waite-Smith artwork, just more in a painted or paintingy, just to make up words style. So even though I like this deck, I really like the illustration, and when I got it, it was definitely one that I got because I didn't have the original one, and I wanted something that was close to it. Even though I don't understand why everybody has to have like 8 packs. Like, okay, that's not necessarily something that I look for. I mean, it's good for you. I mean, for this position you need to have that. But yeah, and the queens are kind of young, so I'm not sure. Maybe I just like this deck, but maybe I should just open a pile where I just keep decks that I like the artwork and I don't read with them, and call that part of my collection the collection. I don't know. So that's the Heaven and Earth Tarot. Another one that I used a lot though is the Sacred Destiny. Everybody knows this deck. Not a lot of people like the artwork, or some people really love it, some people just don't. Oh, look at that. This is such a good reader. I love the keywords, especially if you read through the guidebook, and I know I'm making kind of like a sales pitch. But if you read through the guidebook and you get the keywords, they make a lot of sense. And I think that's how you know if a deck is for you or not, that if you start reading with it and you just connect with everything that the deck has to offer. For me, this one is exactly like that. I never got a message from this deck that didn't make any sense, or I had to struggle to make it make sense, like with the Reclaim Oracle. Doesn't matter the topic, I just work well with this deck, and I'm not saying everybody should. It's just that because I have this deck, I know what I'm looking for in a deck when I do readings, so it's easier to distinguish. Another one that I didn't really touch because I didn't do readings in Hungarian, which I kind of wanted to start on my reading channel. It's the Light Seers. Is the Hungarian edition, which I really like. The like it's a bit bigger. I like the cardstock. I like the edging, but I wasn't doing readings on my channel in Hungarian, and the Hungarian people that I actually did readings for, my colleagues. Oh, sorry. I used the Everyday Witch Mini because that's my travel deck at the moment. And I really need to remove that card because it's annoying. Okay, another one. And I bet that this video is already way too longer, so let's quickly finish. Lord of the Rings Tarot. Didn't even open. I wanted to, I swear. I still absolutely don't get this guidebook layout. Like, please redesign that. It's just not makes no sense. It's a pip deck, doesn't really bother me. I mean, I like illustrated pips. I can read with pips, but it's always more fun to have something that you can visualize. But look at that, man! But I love Lord of the Rings, and I just kind of wanted this deck. Again, this could be something that is just gonna be a collection. No piece. I don't know. Maybe that will make things easier if I don't, stress over if I use something or not, but I still want to give this one a chance as well to be a reader. But we will see, we will see. Because there are other Lord of the Rings decks out there that I know that are better. One that I actually used a few times is the Dark Mansion, which I will never get rid of because I just love the art style so much. I really need to use it more, and I'm not sure why I just, you know, settled this one as my Christmas deck and not, you know, look for other decks, because this is exactly the Dickens style Christmas Carol children's book illustration deck. So I'm not even sure why am I still that set on getting a Christmas deck when this could be one, because it absolutely feels like a deck for Christmas. So yeah, maybe I should just, you know, do that. But I kind of feel like it's limiting the deck, but at least I would use it more in that time. So yeah, I love it, I will keep it, and I still use it, and I'm not using it enough. Two of my own that I thought that I would be using, because like I said, I wanted to do, and you know, the duck box is already dying. I wanted to do big introspective readings, is the Questions Oracle, which you can use it in a way that you pull a card and then start journaling about the topic. Like, what does summer mean to you? How do you express yourself during summer? How do you feel? What are your emotions? Do you hate? Do you love? Stuff like that. Boundaries with my cat. But I just simply, like I said, I didn't had the mental energy. Oh, look at the spring. To go there. To deal with emotions, I guess. So yeah, even though I really like this deck, I mean, I love the, I mean, I made it obviously, so who else should love it if not me? And I like the cardstock, I like the size. This is the technology, which is one of my favorite ones. But yeah, I had no time, so I'm not packing this one away, but I just, yeah, you know, I need to get back to it when I have more mental space for doing big readings, to figure things out. And just like the Building Relationships Pocket Edition, I didn't do relationship readings, so I didn't really use this deck either. But yeah, it looks like this, and I like the pocket version, so I need to get my Zombie Oracle in a pocket version soon as well, or maybe not, because I'm thinking about doing something, so stay tuned if you're still watching. The other two decks, and then there's just one, are the True Black, the original, and the new holo. Like I said it in my first impression video, I think I've said it there. These do feel like two different decks for me. And I'm not gonna lie, I used the holographic version more because it's just new and shiny, like quite literally shiny. But this is my ultimate like mood for winter, so and I like them both. And I missed using this one, but I don't know what is happening with rose petal decks in my collection, because I kind of feel like this is as well starting to show some bubbles. So please do let me know if you have rose petal finishes on decks. Do you see this? Like maybe some air is getting into the matte layering or whatever, because I don't think I've noticed that before. It could be like, honestly, our humidity or dryness or whatever in the air, but if it's happening, I want to know. And the last one is the one that I spent. It's still not, I'm still, you know, using this deck for daily pulls, but this is my monthly study deck, so I will film a separate, more in-depth review of my experience with decks. So this was the main deck that I used. That's why this was one of the reasons that I didn't really use other decks, because I was using this one for daily pulls, for readings most of the time that I could. And the only other deck that I wanted to show before I forgot is an Oracle. But yeah, this was my main tarot deck, and like I said, there's gonna be a more in-depth review or experience with this deck up on my channel before this video goes up. So if you're curious about what was my monthly experience with this deck, please check that one out. And because I forgot, I mean, not really, just that this deck is on my table because I do daily pulls with this one. And this was my, today's card. I like the artwork. I don't use the moon aspect, which is, the main aspect of this deck, but I like the keywords. And I'm trying to, look at things like that I understand about the moon, like what does the full moon mean if it comes up. And I don't know, new moon and stuff like that. But the keywords are good, and I like the aesthetic. So I was using this one for this week and for the remainder of January. And there's a bow, because that happens with pretty much all my rock wool decks. They develop a bow quite easily. So this was the one that I used. So out of the decks that I picked out, which was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 decks. What was I thinking, honestly? What was I thinking? I used the Prisma Visions, the Sacred Destiny regularly. I used the Heaven and Earth, the Moonology, the Dark Resurrection. Okay, wait. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-ish I used, more or less, and the rest I didn't even use. So conclusion, if you're like me and you're busy with life, with work, with just life, don't pick out 18 decks for a season, because you're probably not gonna use them all. So yeah, okay, so for spring I will do a different separate video, but there's gonna be less decks, and hopefully, on top of starting the Wildwood study, because that's gonna be a year-long one, I will have time to actually play with other decks as well, because I want to. So yeah, thank you so much for being here. Hope this was, in any way useful. Honestly, I hope it was, but I completely understand if it was just rambling. But yeah, thank you so much for being here. Please like, subscribe, do those YouTube things, because those help my channel, and I love interacting with you guys. So please leave a comment. Which deck do you have? Which one do you use? Which one do you not use? Why? I always interested, and I want to learn about other people's habits of deck using. But yeah, I think it's all. I'm gonna just sit here and watch the snowfall, because it's actually snowing. So yeah, see you guys. Bye.